Well, hello again. It appears I'm going to be doing this again. I have my book, and I'm going to continue reading. Now, I was planning on doing this yesterday, but as people who watch the channel will be aware, my ceiling fell in, and I need to have workmen round. So, then I was basically stuck in, yesterday I was basically stuck in the house with a load of workmen, removing a chimney and making a hell of a lot of noise, which is not conducive to recording an hour of silence when you've got builders tearing down bricks. So I didn't do it yesterday. Now I could have done it yesterday evening, but I spent yesterday daytime preparing for my D&D game. And I kind of got in the swing of things, so I want to keep going with that. So I just carried on doing that through the evening. And I didn't feel the impetus to stop, because I thought I'd rather do one thing well than attempt to do two things and only half finish either. So that's what I did. That's what I did yesterday. Today I was going to record in the daytime. That didn't work out. There was an alarm going off in that direction, and my neighbour playing really loud music in that direction. So it wasn't exactly quiet. It's currently 5 to 11 at night. Last video I said I can probably finish this weekend. Yeah, not a chance. Yesterday I was not in a position to really read. Like I say, excuse me. The workmen did not make it easy to relax, so I tried to distract myself. But I would not have been able to sit and read, not with that much noise, that many people coming in and out of the room all the time. And in the evening I was coughing because of all the brick dust for a good long while. But I'm feeling better, I'm ready to read, and I don't think I'm going to finish this tonight, because that would take me hours, and I can only record for an hour and a half on this because the battery will run out, so I can't actually record for a ridiculous amount of time. I actually got the maths wrong last video. I don't know why I got it wrong. I spent a bit of time doing it, and then for some reason I skipped one step, or I did the numbers the wrong way around. I calculated how many words were on the page, how many pages were left, how long it would take me to read each one. I calculated it would take me 3 minutes to read 2 pages. Then I worked out how long it would take for me to read what was left, with the assumption it would take me 2 minutes to read 3 pages, which is completely wrong. So what I calculated as taking 2 hours would in fact have taken 4. So what I've got left, as I'm on page 446, is 115 pages. So, 115 pages is, well, let's call 120 just for the sake of it, because that'll make it easier to read. If it's taking me 3 minutes to read 2 pages, then for me to read 120, that would be 180 minutes, which is exactly 3 hours. So what's left of this book should take me 3 hours. I would like to finish it today, because then I'd be able to talk to you about the ending and get my opinions on it. But I don't think that's very likely. I'm not going to suddenly start speed reading the end of the book. So I'm going to keep going and see how far I can get. Maybe my reading speed will pick up if it's an exciting part of the book, or if I get into a rhythm, maybe I'll get through half of it. But I suspect I'm still going to be reading this tomorrow. But that aside, I'm going to start reading in a bit. I did figure out what the weird noise was. This camera, for some bizarre reason, creates its own weird noises. I don't know why it does that. It just decided to do it. That means that this video, unlike the previous one, is going to have my old style thumbnail, I'm going to use that picture of the books on the table. I quite like that picture. It's going to have its own little title. It's going to look like an older video of mine. And it's going to be edited. It's actually, as you've already seen, it's going to start with the title screen. It's then going to fade into this. Because I may as well do that, given that I'm going to have to do editing on this video anyway. Because I'm going to have to put this through my audio editing software to remove that horrible buzz. It's kind of a high-pitched squealing buzz. I don't know why it's doing it. I thought it might be picking up the... That was weird. The camera did something then. Yeah, I thought it might be picking up the hum of my computer, but apparently it wasn't. I thought it might have been maybe the fridge, like the hum of the fridge. But maybe it was picking up something really, really quiet and amplifying it. Because I know these cameras can do that kind of thing. Wasn't doing that either. In fact, I went out of my way to try and record in silence, and then recorded with the door open as cars were going past to see if it would pick up that kind of ambient noise. We had a fair bit of rain, so I tried to record rain to see if I'd be able to pick up the sound of rainfall. It can't pick up ambient noise. The ambient noise is not loud enough to overpower that weird whiny thing, that whiny buzzy noise. So if it's not speech, this camera will not pick it up unless it's actually a really loud noise. Like, I can have something playing quietly on the TV, it won't pick it up, it won't be loud enough to overpower that buzz. So yeah. I will be adding ambient noise though, because one of the things that I realised, and it's something that people pointed out on the Discord, is that these videos make effective ASMR. Which was not what I was originally thinking. I kind of put it in the description of the last video as a joke. That these could be effectively ASMR videos. I suppose if you really want to, you can think of them that way. I like to think of them as reading vlogs. But I suppose you could look at it as a reading vlog and an ASMR video in one. Which is a really cool idea, I suppose. I don't think that there's many people doing that. I know there's a few reading sprint channels, which I think is something close, but they do an interactive thing where they've got a chat and people are reading along live as they make the video. So it's a little different. This, I think, is a little less commitment, but it's still something you can put on if you want to read or do something else. You don't have to be reading. You could always put this on and use it as a background, as a timekeeper, something that you can go, right, I'm going to stick this on, and in this time I will paint a Warhammer model or something. I know there's a few people in the Discord that paint little miniatures. So maybe you could do that. I don't know. Depends what it is you want to focus on. And this is as good a reason as any for you to sit back for an hour and do nothing. So that's the idea. When I say do nothing but the thing you're planning on doing. Like, not scroll through your phone, not have a random TV show on in the background. You know, the things that we always seem to do when we're dividing our attention. So, I'm going to start reading anyway. And again, if I wasn't making this video, I would not be reading right now, because like a lot of people, I don't have the motivation to just pick up the book and read for an hour. I don't do that. I don't know why I don't do it. I want to do it, but I don't do it. So making these videos is helping me, even if no one really watches them, and even if you watch till I start reading and then you skip straight to the end. That's why I put the timestamps in the description. Really, these videos are an excuse for me to actually give myself some me time, where I'm not wasting the time flicking through videos I've seen a dozen times on YouTube or scrolling through Facebook again. So that's another reason for me to make them. These will not, however, be, like I say, replacing my other videos. I still have those videos in production, and before I start, in fact, I bought insulating foam. This will be going up and I'll be able to record on my computer properly. So that'll be nice. It'll mean that I can make the scripted videos I was making before as well as these, which is nice. Those are actually really easy to make. I can do them sitting at my computer without any issue. So that's something I'm looking forward to being able to get back to. Now, without any further delay, it's been over 10 minutes, I believe, at this point. So let's actually start reading. If you want to grab your book now, or grab whatever it is that you want to be doing, help, maybe you play a musical instrument. Now would be a great time to practice. Set aside an hour. Just do a bit of practice. Why not? I'll see you in an hour. Okay, I'm going to stop there. That's page 481, so I've still quite a way to go, but it will be an hour in a little over 3 minutes. So if I keep going, I'm going to run out of battery, and the recording's going to cut out, so I'll stop. That was quite good. We're at a nice point to close on, actually. So it's an exciting point to continue with in a bit. It's a little after midnight now, so I'm gonna wash up and go to bed in a bit. But I'm really interested to see how the relationships pan out by the end of this, because one of the things I really quite like about this is that both Holden and Miller are extremely similar, and yet they are very different in other ways, and rather than let this just continue for an extended period of time, they're actively addressing it now, and that's really good. One of the worst things you can have is a story where the characters just talk past each other, where if they just sat down and had a conversation, all of the drama would be gone. This book has cleverly managed to have drama and tension where stubborn characters refuse to give in, and yet within a few chapters they're talking about the drama and they're seeing each other's point of view in a way that so few books would do. This is a really, really good step, I think. This indicates that they're not just going to keep the same tension going for book after book after book, which is something I was a little concerned with, was that they were going to have this misunderstanding between Miller and Holden, despite the fact they're basically on the same side here, and have that be a central conflict for a prolonged period of time. I don't think that works, and I'm glad that it looks like they're not going to do that they're going to butt heads, that they're going to have issues, but that ultimately they're going to grow and start to understand each other on at least some level. And maybe it'll mean that one of them might change to see the other's point of view a little. And I'm hoping, despite the fact that Holden is being presented as this golden boy, basically, I'm hoping that the person to change is Holden. I'm hoping that what this will do is give him a reality check. Because I think Miller is entirely right in all of this. I don't think that there's any point where Miller has done anything that would be wrong. I think the thing that Miller needs to work on is mental health. Because the hallucinations, the constant seeing of Juliet as a ghostly figure, he has constant audio and visual hallucinations all the time. That is very concerning, and that should be the thing that he works on. What I don't want to see at the moment is I don't want to see Miller softening his approach. I think that would be a betrayal of the character they've built so far. It could happen. It wouldn't be unreasonable if it did happen, but it would be the direction I wouldn't want the character to be taken in. So that's my takeaway from this. I'm really enjoying the sci-fi elements. There is a lot to like there. I'm surprised that the big generational ship is being used in the way it is, because I was half expecting that later down the line in some of the other books we'd probably end up following that big generation ship, because it would have given us an excuse to leave the solar system. If we're not doing that, then I'm not sure where they're going to take this. I can only imagine that it's not one big connected story, because it can't be a big 9-book connected story if the storyline's concluding, and it does appear as though this storyline is likely to be largely concluded by the end of this book. I don't think they're going to leave too much open. I think that there's going to be fallout and effects from the story, but this story itself is going to be largely self-contained. I suspect it will anyway. Now, if that's the case, then I'm actually really excited to see what they do with it, because that means that they will probably have a completely new, different storyline to tell in the other books, just set in the same continuous universe, and that excites me, because if the writing can be as strong, then that means that theoretically this isn't really a series, it's just a setting with a bunch of standalones that happen to have the same characters, if that makes sense. It's not directly continuing the same storyline with the same with the same elements. At least that's where I think it's going to go. Excuse me. I could be very wrong in that. Still, it's a very comfortable read, and I'm loving it for that. I will definitely be aiming to finish this soon. I might continue on, actually, and read a little bit further before I go to bed. Depends on how tired I'm feeling. I do need to be up early in the morning. Oddly enough, I need to be up early in the morning because I'm going to be having a COVID test. It was one of those things where I decided to set up a COVID test because I've had a lot of workmen coming in and out of the house, and whilst everyone was wearing masks and all that, you never know, and people who are still working in other people's homes during this pandemic, those are basically super spreaders, because they're going from house to house, being exposed to many, many different people. You never know when they could be exposed, and they're usually fit and healthy people in their 20s and early 30s, which means if they do have it, they could be symptomless, or their symptoms could be extremely minor. So if they have it, they may not actually feel ill, but could pass it on to others. That's my logic anyway. So I want to be sure, after all, I am a chronic asthmatic, so it makes sense. But it does mean I need to be up early, so I'm going to do that. Get good night's rest, maybe read another chapter or two before I go to bed. I'm finding that each chapter's taking me about 10 to 12 minutes to read in this book, which they're not long chapters. My reading speed is very slow. It's annoyingly slow. I am enjoying what I'm reading, but it is annoyingly slow. So I've still got, I'm at 481, so I've still got another 80 pages. So that's at least 2 hours. My estimation was pretty accurate, actually. So that is another 2 hours of reading for me. So if I was to make another 2 of these videos and read this book during these videos, I will still not be finished until this time next week. So I'm going to have to read outside of these videos. I'm going to have to make myself read at other points in the day and push a little bit further. I want to read a different book next video. I want to give my opinions on something else. I want to get a little bit further in some of the other books I'm reading as well. I still want to finish this one, of course. But I've got other books on the go that I've basically sidelined whilst I've been focusing on this, and whilst the workmen were here. I've still got Senlin Ascends, and I've still got Guardians of the Moon that I want to get to. So I'm probably, I don't know why I said Guardians of the Moon, it's Gardens of the Moon. I'm probably going to read Senlin Ascends next video, because I've got a lot to say on Senlin Ascends, and it'll be interesting to get other people's opinion on it. What I will say is that I'm hoping to get a little more variety. One of the things I've noticed about Booktube in general, but also the channels that I'm following, is that there is a very strict series of books that people read. there are a few genres I read, depending on which part of Booktube you're in. There's the grown women reading children's books, and I don't mean YA. I actually mean literally children's books. I mean grown women in their late 20s reading middle grade children's books all the time. There are a few channels, I can't remember the names of them off the top of my head. You know what? There it is. I don't need to remember it, I can literally look them up. So, there's a couple of channels. Why are they not in my recommended? Because I actually do tend to follow some of these, and yet none of them are appearing in my recommended at the moment. That is really annoying. Huh. One moment. I will find... Okay, here we go. There's a couple of them where they... I know that there's one woman who I've seen a fair few that does these kinds of videos, and she also does a TBR game regularly, and she basically reads nothing but middle grade all the time. And her channel is recommended to me all the time, except for now. Right now, it is not being recommended to me at all. Like, none of her videos are showing up. Like, I know that she did, like, a bookshelf tour recently, and I've just typed in bookshelf tour, and she's not appearing at all in any of these. It's bizarre. It's like, this channel has just disappeared. I know it'll still be there. Wow. Do you think maybe the recommendations, the algorithm has figured out that I don't care about middle grade? Could that actually have happened? Could it have finally realised that I don't care about middle grade books? Oh, there she is. JD Ray Reads. Like, that was a lot of videos I had to scroll through to get to her. She's a perfectly nice woman. She's pleasant enough in her videos. She makes interesting videos. She clearly has an audience, and I'm not gonna tell her off for deciding that she wants to read middle grade books. If that's what she's interested in, then good for you. It would be a better world if more people still had the inner child, just enjoying things on a purely innocent level. I think it would be a better world if we were all like that. I can't be like that. I have no interest in that kind of thing. If I did that, I would be profoundly bored. I know I would be, because I attempted to reread a couple of childhood favourites, specifically a couple of Roald Dahl books very recently, and I can't read them. They're completely wasted on me. Like, to the point where I'm genuinely considering getting rid of the Roald Dahl collection that I happen to have, because I'm never going to read them. They are too childish for me now. It's just something that I can appreciate on an intellectual level, but they're not written for me. So, of course, they don't appeal to me. It's fair. They're not supposed to appeal to me. But yeah, there's, like I say, there are different parts of Booktube, and I've got off on a bit of a tangent there. There's the grown women reading children's books side of Booktube, which is bizarre, but it exists. There's also a couple of guys that take part in that. Not many. It's main... Oh, that's what that is. It's randomly capturing a picture for no reason. Okay. I was wondering what that little symbol was on the screen. Right. So there's that part. There is the YA obsessed fantasy romance crowd, which is, again, largely women in their late 20s. It does exist. It is the largest part of Booktube by a massive, massive margin. And we all know what they read. They pretty much all read books by the likes of Sarah J. Maas. They read books like The Cruel Prince by Holly Black, Never Night by Jay Kristoff. Those kinds of books. You know exactly what you're going to get when you look at these channels. Cassandra Clare books, that kind of stuff. There are a few things that you'll notice cropping up in that part of Booktube. Dark academia has suddenly become a buzzword. It wasn't 3 months ago. 3 months ago, no one had ever heard the fucking term dark academia. Now, it's all anyone talks about on that part of Booktube. Everything they read is dark academia. I don't even know what dark academia means. I don't think they know what dark academia means. Right. Magical realism is another one that's popped up, which, from what I can tell, just means fantasy books. It just means fantasy books where they spend less time on the fantasy and more time on interpersonal drama. So, the same YA fantasy books they've been reading the entire time, because they never focused on the fantasy. So, I have no idea why they've started using these terms. Apparently, these are new genres. It just sounds like renaming the old genres to me. But, fair enough. So there's those two sides of Booktube, and I've railed on those sides plenty. It's kind of a trope at this point. That's it's not to say that they don't have value, but there's only so many times you can read the same storyline over and over again and find it intriguing, surely. And a lot of these books are very, very trope heavy, so they don't appeal to me, obviously. There is another side of Booktube, and it is growing, and that is the heavy focus on epic fantasy, mixed gender side of Booktube. That's the side that I'm actually more a part of. Because the first one that I talked about, it's all middle grade books. It's all just a few people talking about really childish books that they enjoy and being really happy about them. There's a bizarre thing where they all seem to love children's books set in snow and ice and winter. There's a lot of things like there's a read-along called the Polathon. They are obsessed with reading books set in winter. I don't know why. I don't know why winter is suddenly more important than the other seasons, but they focus heavily on wintry and snowy based books, and they have done consistently for about a year now. It is by far the most common subgenre, or not even subgenre, like sub-genre within what they read. They call it polar fantasy. It's a weird little niche, but they all do it. The YA crowd, they cross over a little with this new crowd, and the YA crowd kind of splinters into a kind of middle point where you've got the YA fantasy and the adult fantasy crowd that joins up to produce what I call the identity politics reader. They are extremely focused on identity politics, and there are a few of them that I think don't realise they're doing it. One that I particularly like, actually. I think she's a really nice person. Maddie from Book Browsing Blog. She does this constantly. I watch her channel quite regularly. In fact, I've got to the point now where I watch her channel almost as a warning. If Maddie likes a book, I'm probably going to hate it. And it's weird, because she'll go through all the things that she's looking forward to, and at no point does she seem vindictive. There's no hatred in what she's saying. She is not one of those man-hating feminist types. At no point has she ever made out that she was. She's not she's not one of those identitarian, hate the white people types either. She is a normal, everyday, mid to late 20s booktuber, and she fits the stereotype so beautifully it's disturbing. She reads books entirely because of identity politics, to the point where if she gets a book, she will then list off the reasons that she's excited, and they are just a checklist of identity politics things. Does the book contain different races? Does it contain different cultural types? Does it contain trans characters? Does it contain gay characters? She has this whole thing about reading sapphic novels, which just means novels with a lesbian romance in it. Sapphic that's all that word means. It just means lesbian romance. She's pretty focused on sapphic books, which is a bizarrely pinpointed position. But I suppose if you're enjoying romance and you happen to be a woman who's interested in other women, reading about a lesbian romance is exactly the kind of thing you want. I suppose it would be uncomfortable to read a heterosexual romance if you wanted romance and you're not interested in that gender, in the same way that I would probably find reading about gay men to be uncomfortable in some way. I don't know why, but I imagine that's gonna put me off, despite me not actually being straight, but that's not the point. I treat myself as though I am effectively straight because I live my life as though I am. The situation for me, I find that a lot of those representation elements are way overplayed and they never read well for me. So I can imagine feeling very uncomfortable reading about that because it's probably going to be very badly written or written in a very pandering manner. I've watched videos of hers where she's sat there and read off a checklist of every single social justice talking point you can come up with, but it's never meant mean. It's never meant with vitriol. There's no hatred. There's no man hate or there's no white guilt or anything like that. She genuinely just wants to read about other ethnicities and gay representation and trans representation because she thinks that's a good thing. But I don't think she actually does, because you can tell that when she reads books, she's excited about these things because, oh yeah, it's got trans people, it's got gay people, and it's got all these different cultures and its own voices and all of that crap. And she'll get really excited about that, and then she'll read the book and she doesn't like it and doesn't care, and then she'll give it like 3.5 or 4 stars because no one on Booktube gives anything below 3 stars, so it's probably getting a 4 stars even though she doesn't like it. That's part of the course, but she doesn't like it, and you can tell she's not quite sure why, because it's got all the checkpoints, so she should love it, right? She's in her 20s. She'll get over this identity politics thing. I mean, if you look back at what I was like when I was in my 20s, I was a complete fucking moron, so I had no room to talk. At least she's nice. But yeah, there's those areas of Booktube. Like I say, this crosses over into the epic fantasy side of Booktube, and that's probably where I'm going to slot in. But I'm going to slot in and then make waves. Because that is a very, very left-wing area of Booktube. But again, there's the same issue there. All the same books are read by all the same people. There is a twist now where it's trying to incorporate more sci-fi. But it's all the same sci-fi. The same books will appear over and over. The Red Rising series, The Expanse, the Murderbot series. These will appear over and over and over again. Dune will be mentioned all the time by everyone. I'm fairly sure half of them haven't fucking read it, but it will get mentioned because people have got this weird thing where Dune is now supposedly the Lord of the Rings of sci-fi. I don't know where that came from. Like, from the sci-fi fans I know, about half of them don't consider Dune to be sci-fi at all, let alone the archetypical sci-fi book. No, if anything, like, it's not even up there. It's kind of a sci-fantasy mixture for a lot of people. So I don't know why Dune's got this reputation all of a sudden, but I suppose it's got a new film coming out, so that's a big thing. Brandon Sanderson will be the focus point for a lot of these people. There'll be a lot of people reading the same things, so you can expect, like I say, Brandon Sanderson, you can expect The Wheel of Time. That is going to be read by bloody everyone at this point. But that tends to be just because it's such a bloody huge series and everyone's got gone in on the same thing. Daniel Green has also pushed that as well because it's his favourite series. I can't really say much. I've only read the first book, so not really a series that I care all that much about. I read the first book, didn't carry on with the series, but this was years ago, so maybe I should give it more of a chance. I've been told the first book is basically just a retread of Lord of the Rings, whereas the rest they actually change it up, and Robert Jordan does his own thing. I did feel it was quite generic, so maybe it was just that the first book needed to be generic just to sell it to the publishers. It's what I've heard. If that's the case, then maybe I should give it more of a try, but that's not the point anyway. Other books, like I've got some of them, like anything by Patrick Rothfuss, anything by Joe Abercrombie. You don't hear much about George R.R. Martin anymore, but if he releases another book, he will suddenly become the thing everyone's talking about. Right now, everyone's talking about Malazan because there's a huge read-along happening. I mean, let's face it, I'm also doing the same read-along, so I can't criticise there. There's all the same thing, so I want to try and diversify and read some new stuff. It's interesting that Booktube goes down these routes. I'm not sure what to make of it. But yeah, like I say, even Semler Descends, which I thought was an obscure book that no one had heard of, I found out about the book. It ended up becoming one of the Buddy Read books. I can't remember if it was me or someone else who actually put it forward as a nomination, but it became one of our Buddy Reads, and then suddenly everyone was reading it. In that third section of Booktube, everyone was reading it. I've noticed that thrillers and horror books get barely any notice. Stephen King is the exception. Again, I can't criticise. I do the same thing. But it's interesting. I do want to diversify, but I've been rabbiting for a good 20 minutes now, so I'm going to cut it off there. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.